Husky fans, welcome into episode number 9 of NIU Weekly. I'm Andy Garcia. Glad you could join us this week. And, with all the action and then followed by Thanksgiving, our schedule was thrown off a little bit, but we're great to have NIU Weekly back. Great to talk a little football this week. Thomas Hammock, the boys, 6-6, bowl bound. They won their last 2 games. The last one at Kent State, wild one. They win 37-27 to be bowl bound. So we'll see where the Husky football team's going bowling, but we'll talk to Thomas Hammock about the season overall. Then we'll talk a little men's hoops. Rashon Burno, his team's off to a great start. 5-2, a nice 5-game winning streak. Last game, tough one at Northwestern, but the Huskies getting ready for a Tuesday night game, taking on Indiana State. So we'll talk a little men's hoops as well. They're coming back again at home at the Combo on Tuesday, December 5th. Basketball, as you know it, off to a great start. Best in 8 seasons for the men. It's not too late to get men's and women's basketball season tickets and single game tickets. There's mini plans. There's some great options out online right now. Go online to get all the information, all the options. NIUHuskies.com/MyHuskies. Get out to the Combo. The women are playing well. The men are playing well. Some great options you want to see in the Convocation Center for men's and women's basketball. Football, meanwhile, it's headed to a bowl game. We don't know exactly where yet after the win at Kent State last Saturday. We'll talk about that with Thomas, but great to have the Huskies back in the bowl game. Hopefully you can join us when we find out where we're going. I'm sure there'll be some great packages and some things to go on the road with us for the bowl game, NIU football. So keep on track of that on NIUHuskies.com as well. Also going to have our look back with Bill Baker, going through our great feature with that this year. So a fantastic show. First things first, let's talk some football. Here's Thomas Hammond. The Husky football team's going bowling. They win their last 2 of the season, especially getting that good one over Kent State. 37-27 last on the road last Saturday as Thomas Hammock joins me now. And Coach, congratulations, bowl bound. We'll find out where we're going later on in the week. But Thomas, just talk about that Kent State game. Get you the 6th win. And you guys got out to the early lead. Thomas, they came back, but you guys made plays in the end with a wild finish. But you guys got the job done to get bowl bound.
Obviously they played a style of football where they had nothing to lose, and they brought everything out, which, sometimes those are the hardest games to play. But I like how we started the game. Obviously had an opportunity to score a touchdown the first drive, but we didn't. Jumped out to a 10-0 lead, had them in 3rd and long situation. We jump off sides, give them another 3rd down play, and then they go for the fake field goal on 4th and 8, which, is it was a hard cover, good play by them. And so they gained some momentum that way. But love the resolve of our team. They came back, they fought back, they didn't flinch. That goes a long way in the development of our program. Guys that stay in the moment and understand, the next play is the play to change the momentum. And I like how we finished the game. We scored a touchdown. And then obviously get a sack and a safety, touchdown to end the game. And I think that was big for us.
Really like the way you guys ran the ball. Gavin Williams over 100 yards, Ontario Brown almost 100 yards. Guys, Rocky Lombardi with 2 rushing touchdowns. You were able to run the ball, and you talk about all the time, Thomas. You guys want to run the football.
Yeah, no, I think running the football is part of our DNA, and I think. AB started the game out strong with a big run, but if he was 100%, I think that would have been a touchdown. But he got nicked up in the Western Michigan game, but fought through all week to get himself ready to play. I thought he gave us a chance, but I thought Gavin Williams provided an excellent spark. Ran behind his pads, ran physical, created some tough yardage plays. Rocky obviously, pulled the ball a couple times, which was good to see to keep the defense honest. But, for us, it starts with the run game and then build a playoff action pass off of that. And I thought we were extremely explosive in the second half, scoring 27 points.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned what Rocky did a little bit, but it had to pass when he needed to, pass for 183 yards. But how about the play by Dane Partridge and the catch to get it down to the goal line? Just a fantastic catch from Dane.
Yeah, no, Dane has been playing outstanding football for us. He's a young man that practices like he plays in a game, and I think that pays off. Sometimes you don't have to be the most talented player to be the most productive, and I think your work ethic and how hard you practice and how well you prepare allows the game to slow down for you. And I think the game has certainly slowed down for for Dane. He's just a redshirt freshman with a bright future ahead of himself, and I think he will continue to make plays for our offense.
Grayson Barnes got a touchdown catch, but also great to see again Cam Thompson get a catch, but also Kyle Thomas getting some targets as well out in the wideout.
No, Kyle Thomas is a young man that I thought in training camp was a guy that can help us this season. Had a hamstring injury that put him out for a while, so he had to build himself back up. But he is a very talented young man, fearless. Obviously he got excited on his first run. He stumbled and slipped, but he's a guy that will grow from that game experience and continue to get better. But he's a guy, to me, that can play the X position on offense. He can handle one-on-ones. Need to continue to get stronger in the weight room and add some weight, but his upside is tremendous.
On the defensive side versus Kent State, Ray Thomas, 10 tackles. He earns the MAC West Defensive Player of the Week. He led all FBS in tackles as a defensive lineman, Thomas. A great game for Ray Thomas, but also really a great season.
Yeah, Ray Thomas has played outstanding for us all year. I mean, the way he's played, the way he's attacked, training, the way he's attacked in games. People know where he's at and has to defend him. I think it's an absolute travesty that he's not on an all-conference team. But to me, he's a first-team all-conference performer. He led the country in tackles for a defensive lineman, and that's just hard to do.
Yeah, we'll get to the All-MAC in just a second. Finishing up on the defense, Tyler Jackson had 7 tackles, had a great game versus Kent State. And those linebackers all year, Thomas, that was a question mark, right? Maybe not for you, but maybe us who didn't know what was going to happen in that linebacker position going into the season. The linebackers this year were outstanding.
Yeah, no, I think, for us, we rotate a lot of guys and keep them fresh, which sometimes may hurt their stats. But from the health of your team, we are so much healthier at this point in the season because of guys that rotated and played and kept guys fresh, that we become stronger as the season has gone along. In our linebacker position, we rotated 4 guys all year, and they all somewhere between 40 and 50 tackles and feel productive. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, that's certainly something we sell. You're going to have an opportunity to get in a rotation. And if you're in a rotation, you're going to play a significant amount of snaps. So I think all those guys played anywhere from 300 to 400 snaps on the season, which means the wear and tear on your body is less. So we are a lot healthier than we've been all season.
So Huskies get bowl bound after the win at Kent State. You mentioned those MAC selections. Let's go through them, Thomas. First team All-MAC, Ontario Brown, 11 rushing touchdowns this season. Also Nolan Potter, the redshirt senior offensive lineman. Both Ontario and Nolan get first team All-MAC.
Yeah, I think during the MAC play, we led the conference in rushing, and I think that's a testament to the guys up front. Nolan Potter getting recognized, but there's some other guys that in my opinion should have been recognized as well. It's hard to average 5 yards a carry and not have guys up there deserving of all conference. But excited about the 2 guys that made it. Nolan has been a pillar in our program since he's been here. And then AB, staying healthy all season long. Obviously, I think he still has more upside in him. And that's what we have to do a good job in the offseason of getting out of him. But to be selected first team gives him a starting point for next season. And we're excited about his continued growth.
Second team All-MAC, both on the defensive side. James Esther, who really could have been first team All-MAC, gets second team All-MAC, but also Javon Bird. Really nice year for Javon Bird. So great to see James and Javon get second team All-MAC.
Yeah, James Esther played his best football this season. I think he made a tremendous amount of commitment. He was a guy last offseason that schools were calling and trying to get in contact with. He stayed committed to the program that was committed to him. And we've been with him from the beginning. And, I couldn't be more excited about him playing his best football as a senior. And he's going out the right way as a Husky. Javon Bird, is a young man that, we've known since he was a sophomore in high school. Started for us at the back end of his freshman year. Was one of our better corners. Sophomore year, didn't play as well. But this year was a lockdown corner all season long. And I think He's a young guy that, I think he has next level ability. We got to continue to help him develop, get stronger, get faster in the off season, so he can be a guy that, people talk about across the country. And I think for him to get second team this year is a great starting block for him going into the 2024 season.
Last but not least, third team All-MAC, Trayvon Rudolph. Oh, had a nice year coming back, and it was explosive, especially late in the year. Thomas, for Trayvon.
Trayvon did a great job, right? He had the big injury last year. It took him about a month or two, 6 weeks into the season to get his legs back underneath him. But once he got his legs back underneath him, he became an explosive, dynamic player for our offense, a guy that people had to game plan around. And we tried to find as many ways to get him the ball as possible. And, he came through for us over the second half of the season.
Let's talk overall about the season now, and congratulations to those guys for being on MAC. Let's start with the defense and the turnaround. Same players, but huge jumps. Thomas, one of the most successful NIU defenses in years, a top 6 passing D, number 22 in total defense, top 30 in scoring D. Again, not new characters, but they really just seem to grow up.
Yeah, I think building a program sometimes takes time. As far as it takes time for players to develop. They don't develop as much as you want or as quick as you want. And I thought our guys really, when you have more time invested in the program, it means more. You put more into it. You hold others accountable. And that's what they did. Our players have been outstanding. I tell coaches all the time, this is a player's game. And if you don't have the players, I don't care how good you think your schemes are, it doesn't matter. But those guys made the commitment, the decision that they wanted to be great. Their motto was one motion, meaning that, all 11 guys are going to be working on the same page. And they did that all season. We never got too high. We never got too low. They stayed consistent. They stayed in the moment. When the offense was struggling, they didn't point the finger. All they said was, what can we do more to help the team? And when you have that type of unselfishness, it allows you an opportunity to be great. And I thought they played phenomenal and gave us a chance in every game we played. We lost 5 games by 23 points. Yeah. So, to find 24 points, for next year, I think, we can find that with a defense like we have. We got 9 of the 11 starters return. We got a lot of depth behind them. I think they will continue to get better and put us in an opportunity to win a lot of games moving forward.
On the offensive side, Thomas, we talked about the run game, but for me and you, we've talked about the wide receivers, having to find that depth at the wideout position. Grayson Barnes has been a huge addition. Some nice explosive plays this year, and I know you want to see more, not just in the bowl game, but moving forward in 2024.
Yeah, no, we're going to address the wide receiver position and figure out ways to get those guys more involved and build a passing game that complements our run game. People start loading the box. We got to push the ball down the field, but they also got to catch the ball. So it's a combination of 2 things. We had some games we had 5 or 6 drops in a game on wide open passes. So we got to find consistency at the wide receiver position. Guys that can catch. We have some guys that can run and take the top off, but then they got to finish the play. So that will be addressed. As far as a plan moving forward of how we can improve our offense, because our run game will get stronger. We didn't have enough backs this year, in my opinion. We lost some guys that started at other places, which is great for them. But we got to reload that position, and I think we addressed that in recruiting. So we're going to have the backs next year to have a strong run game. Now we need those receivers to complement that run game where we can have an explosive and dynamic offense.
Thomas, what does it mean for this team to go to a bowl game this year?
It means a lot. I mean, first of all, we're spending this week in development. We're practicing about 60 guys. And so they had 3 lifts this week and 2 practices just with the guys that haven't played a lot of snaps. So we get an opportunity to have another spring ball before spring ball with the young guys and get them to understand the standards and the urgency and how hard it is to win football games. So from that standpoint, we can fast forward into the spring and be that much further ahead. And then obviously the game for the seniors, right? You didn't want those guys to go out and Kent State be their last game. So them to have an opportunity to win a championship, you win a bowl game, you become a champion, and everybody understands, what that means, what that will do for the momentum moving forward. We had one of our seniors talk about if you guys want to win 9 or 10 games next year, it starts now. And really, this is really the unofficial start to the 2024 season. And the way we practice and the way we prepare and the way we play in this bowl game will show what we're going to be about in 2024.
Looking forward to the bowl game. Hopefully a great destination, Thomas. And again, some extra practices for you and the development. I'm sure we'll talk before the bowl game, but congratulations. And we'll talk soon about where we're going in the bowl.
Thank you, and go Huskies.
From Thomas Hammock in football to Rashon Burno in NIU men's basketball. The men's basketball team off to a really nice start. 5-2 so far in non-conference play. 5 more non-con games before we get to the MAC, and Rashon Burno joins me now. And Rashon, 5-2, some really nice wins on the road. DePaul, Big East team, a good display of basketball at Northwestern before the Wildcats turned it on in the second half earlier this week. But what have you liked the most about this start for your team, Coach?
Oh, just the toughness. Obviously going open on the road versus the number 5 team in the country, Marquette, then having to come home to play a really, really good App State team. And then, obviously going to Georgia and the MTE showed a lot of toughness with the group. We still got ways to go. We're still getting better in areas, but I'm happy with the mental toughness and the focus of detail. I think that's important. Anytime you go out and you play a really tough non-conference, you got to be locked in from the start. So I like that about our group. But yeah, like I said before, we still got ways to go, but we got 5 games to try to get ready before, obviously, this grueling MAC schedule.
What's nice about this non-conference schedule so far, Coach, is that you guys have been taking on different styles of play, right? You're going to get those physical teams. You want the teams to go up and down, and you've matched right there with each of the teams.
Yeah, and that's the makeup of the MAC. Obviously playing against, Toledo, which is a high-powered offense. There's a lot of similarities to Marquette. Playing against Northwestern is a big physical team that's similar to Ball State. And so we have to be able to play in different styles of play and still be who we are. But I like to do it in a non-conference. So when we get into the meat and potatoes of our schedule, there's nothing that we haven't seen or gone through. And that's important for our guys and important for the program.
Offensively, you guys can make some shots and put points on the board, almost 90 points per game, Rashon. And I think what I've liked so far is the sharing of the basketball. 5 Huskies, almost in double-digit scoring. Everyone's getting in the act, and I think that just helps. You guys want to go up and down, and everyone's knocking down shots, and everyone's having a part.
Yeah, and it's fun, right? It's fun to do that. It's more buy-in when the ball is shared, and it gives you an opportunity to be a really good team. The better teams have a lot of people step up. It can't be a 1-2 man show. Teams are too good, right? And so once we get the ball movement and player movement, it allows us to play deeper into our bench. It's a funner style of play, and then it keeps teams off balance. I don't want any team to just load up on one guy. We got to have different ways to beat, because we have a really, really tough non-conference, and obviously the MAC is what it is.
I'll start with David Coit and Diggy, averaging 20 points per game, knocking down shots, a career high 34 versus DePaul, knocking down 8 threes in that game. But I also like that he's trying to get his teammates involved, right? Sean, we know Diggy wants to score, but I think what I've liked in these first 7 games is helping others get in the act.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key, making sure that he has the proper distribution of shooting and then setting up the table for everyone else. You're right. His natural instinct is to put the ball in the hole, but he's got to understand, and he has thus to this point, that there's always a time and place for your aggressiveness. Sometimes you got to be a server for us to be the best version of ourselves. It's for you to set the table, and when the time is right, you strike. And it allows him to have a pulse on the game. Right. I think when you have 3 guys going, it's really hard to load up on one. And so Diggy's starting to understand the value of that.
What I also like about Diggy so far, and the team overall, Rashon, is you guys are getting to the free throw line. But Diggy's already shot, 32 free throws. He's 94% so far this season, but everyone is getting to the line, and you guys are getting free throws now.
Yeah, and that's the highest point per possession you can get. A lot of our numbers are driven by analytics. We want to get, to the rim. And we want to shoot wide open, catch and shoot threes from the corner. And so if we can get to the rim, that also puts pressure on the defense, right? We want to do that, and we want to play in space and pace and space to allow us to get down the lane and allow these other guys who have other skill sets to take advantage of it. A space for Xavier Amos gives us a lot of driving lanes, catch and shoot for Phil, space for Zaire Nutter to really move, space for Giannis to get one-on-one on the post. Those are the options that we try to present down every time down on offense. It's just a matter of executing.
Tariq Nutter, you mentioned, averaging 16 points, grabbing rebounds, but also doing it on the defensive side. A quiet assassin, Rashon, but he's going to put up points, but you're going to put him on the best offensive player in the other team as well.
Yeah, he has a size and a skill set to be a two-way player. He's unique because there's not a lot of 6'7" wings, right, at the collegiate level, and so he presents an unbelievable advantage for us on both ends because we can put him on bigger shooting guards, and we can also post smaller guards. Typically, a 6'3", 6'4", and playing against Nutter is a load because of his ability to play inside out.
Xavier Amos, probably the biggest surprise for me, probably not for you, Rashon, because I know you guys have been working with him in the offseason to get him back since coming off the injury last year. So far this year, averaging 13 points per game. But in that last game on Monday night versus Northwestern, a career high 26 points, 11 of 15 from the field, 4 or 5 from threes, doing it on the defensive side as well, Rashon. But what has X done on the offensive side that has impressed you the most?
He himself. I mean, he's a versatile player. Obviously not having a year due to the high ankle sprain last year set us back a little bit. I thought he was poised to be a starter for us last year, but not having him really hurt us on the offensive end. But coming into this year, he's just another weapon because yet again, if Vicky Court's going, Tariq Nutter's going, then it really puts other people at risk because now you got to choose who you're going to double, how you're going to play him because he's really unique at 6'8", 215 pounds. He can post and he can play on a perimeter, and there's not a lot of foremen that can guard him out there, especially out of closeouts because the ball is going to be moving in the floor space. And so, but he's a kid who's still grown into his own. He's still got ways away, but his talent is evident, and we're going to need him, especially this year, to step up and to continue to step up because he's a good player. He helps us be a really dangerous team.
Me and you've talked a lot during these interviews on the radio about the depth that you have on this team and some of the newcomers you brought in, like Phil Geber-Hewitt and Ethan Butler and Will Lovings-Watts have had huge impacts so far. Let's start with Geber-Hewitt coming in from DePaul, a starter on your team right now. He's brought that scoring, and he's got to keep that mentality of, keep the team basketball, right? If the shot's not there, find the open teammate, go back at it. But we've seen Geber-Hewitt knock down some shots from the free throw line as well.
Yeah, he's a consummate elder statesman. He's been in high level games. He has the experience. He hasn't really shot it to his liking yet, and he's a way better shooter than his numbers. He's still getting, yet again, he's new, so he's getting used to the system. But he brings a level of toughness in those big moments because it's not new to him, right? He's a fifth-year senior. He's seen it. He's done it. And so the common presence to have him on the floor, and he's a free throw guy. He's also a guy that really puts pressure on the rim because guys are running him off. He's able to take 1 or 2 dribbles, get to the rim, and get fouled, right? And so those things are just accumulating of punches from Phil, Nutter, Hoyt, Amos, Yannick. It takes its toll on the team because we're constantly putting pressure at the rim.
And Will Lovings-Watts, the freshman's coming in. You've got a lot of trust in Will right now. He's getting a lot of action. He's knocking down shots. Rashon, why have you put so much confidence in Will so far this season?
I think he's a kid that his upside is just as high as Amos. I think, once he gets a little bit more comfortable about the day-to-day grind of being a accountable player at this level, the sky's the limit. I truly believe that. But he's a guy he's a freshman, so he's going to have some good, some bad, some ugly days. But I believe in his talent. The program believes in his talent. And we're going to need him until Keyshawn gets back. We're going to need him to step up, and he's capable of doing it. He's a really, really bright talent, and every day is something you see another flash where you can get really excited about him and his progress.
We and you talk a lot about the maturation of Yannick. Where do you see his maturation? Where do you see his progression so far this season?
Just his toughness, his rim presence. Last year, he didn't understand that, to be a big guy, you got to have some toughness and some swagger about you, especially in the paint. And I think, obviously, I think he's first in the MAC in shot blocks.
Yep.
He's a presence, and like Will, like Amos, these guys are still learning how to play. Similar to Amos, he missed all of last year, a big portion of last year to injuries. And so once he can understand like how important he is to the team every moment of every possession, and that takes time, he's going to really make us a different ball club. I think we'll be, and the history proves it, we'll be a better team in January than we are right now. We're still learning each other. And I said, I think a couple telecasts ago that I love through winning and teaching. Yeah. But these guys are like, we had an unbelievable conversation after the game yesterday about what it takes to win on a daily basis. And, we had really good feedback from the guys today, and the missed opportunity a couple of days ago playing at Northwestern. And so these guys are really hungry to get back to the lab and start this process over because, we got a dangerous team coming up.
You mentioned 5 more games left in the non-conference, starting Tuesday night versus Indiana State, and then Monmouth, Calumet College, Northern Iowa, and then finishing off at Iowa to complete the non-conference part. But let's talk about Indiana State and what you're expecting from Indiana State on Tuesday night.
They're really good. Their effective field goal percentage, I think they're number 1 in the country. I haven't seen a team yet on film that can score the ball from the areas in which they can score it. They're one of the best efficient teams in the country, and beating a Southern Illinois team. So it's going to be a really, really challenge for us from a defensive standpoint. I think we'll be able to do some things to hurt them, but our hard hat and our identity on defense will need to show because they're a prolific offensive team.
You guys have been so tight as a team so far, really this whole season, getting ready for the season, a family type atmosphere for Rashon, and it has turned into success early, 5-2. What's the mindset for your team the next couple of weeks now as you get through these next non-con, you get ready for the MAC?
I'll finish strong. I think, obviously we put ourselves in a good position. We don't value or judge us on wins and losses. It's just, are we living to our standard? The standard of the program is the most important thing. If we can do that, we'll put ourselves in position to win a lot of games. But the standards of what we'll be judged by. How are we coming in daily, whether we're in the classroom, off the court, on the court? What are we doing to uplift the program and pour into each other? And so that's the mantra of our program since I've been here. This group is special. I think, sky's the limit. And as I stated, we got a long ways to go, but we have the pieces and we have willing participants to do so. So it's just a matter of us, finishing up the non-conference strong because obviously we can talk for days about how tough the MAC is right now.
Rashon, hope a lot of Husky fans make it out Tuesday night, Convocation Center, NIU, taking on Indiana State. Appreciate the time. I'll see you on Tuesday night.
All right, thank you.
Great to hear from both Thomas Hammock and Rashon Burno. Looking forward to the bowl game and also what's happening in men's basketball. Again, next home game, Convocation Center for the men, taking on Indiana State. Be there on Tuesday, December 5th. From football season and basketball to our Looking Back with Bill Baker segment, it continues. And this week we talk about his many assignments and duties he's handled in addition to calling the games on the radio, from emceeing events to hosting television shows and more. So here's our this week's feature on Looking Back with Bill Baker. We continue our feature, Look Back with Bill Baker. Again, Bill Baker finishing up 44 years as the voice of NIU. And Bill, this week, yes, we know you've called games and you've done that, but there's more than just being an announcer, right? There's a Hall of Fame, there's TV, there's different speaking engagements, emceeing events. And I mean, I don't know how many you've done, Bill, but you've done so many and done just different amounts of different events. And any stand out, or what it mean not just to call games, but would also be asked to do different things around the university?
Andy, let me begin by, you should know, honestly, you've done women's basketball for how long now? And how many different things have you done in that relatively short period of time? It hasn't been 44 years, but I know you've been corralled on a number of occasions to do a lot of different things. By the way, this is the first chance I've had to, in this particular forum, say congratulations to the voice of the NIU Huskies. When I slip out of that chair for the last time, whenever that might be it Kent State or be it hopefully a bowl game someplace, I will go feeling good about it. And like I told the people when you were introduced, as bad as I wanted that job back in 1980, that's as bad as I wanted you to get it here in 2023. And I'm 2 for 2. So
Yeah, appreciate it, Bill. Thank you very much.
Geez, I mean, different things. You go back, wow, there's just a list. I mean, back in the day, there was no such thing as NBC Sports. There was no real internet or anything like that. I mean, there wasn't Fox, there wasn't ESPN Plus or ESPN3. The platforms were very, very limited. NIU was fortunate to have a coaches show for both football and men's basketball. And it was on the old sports channel, which became Comcast Sportsnet, and now I think is tied into to NBC. I mean, I've lost track of the actual path, that it's taken, but we had one, and it was a 30-minute program. And somehow, some way, despite how I look and how I looked back then, they thought, well, listen, we'd like to have you MC this thing. And I worked with Jerry Pentabone. I'm pretty sure I worked with Charlie Sadler on it. I know I worked with Brian Hamill. Worked with Jim Molinari on the basketball side of it. 30-minute program. We produced it on campus at Apgeld. Good friend of mine who was with Northern for many, many years and now is with DeKalb and the Chamber, I think, of the Visitors Bureau. And that's Brad Hoyt. Yeah. He was the producer. And a lot of the people that actually ran the system, ran the tapes, and the cameras are still around town, doing different things. And it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot to get ready. They did the highlights, and when I saw the highlights, I had to jot down, a little bit of note and everything. And then, we had the promos and we had the guests and everything. But that was a lot of fun. And as you, as you move along, that's sort of kind of morphed into, doing a couple of things in terms of banquets, postseason banquets. And football would ask, Bill, would you be the MC for the postseason banquet? Those were a lot of fun. Those were great. Same thing with basketball, even women's basketball. A couple of times I was asked to do that in, way back when. And this is, I mean, we're talking 30 years ago. I mean, when all this was going on, and that's just a rough number I'm pulling out of my head. The Hall of Fame was something that I got into that they asked again to MC, and I did that for many, many years until 2009. And Mike Korsick called me and he said, Bill, we're not going to be able to ask you to, MC the Hall of Fame this year. I'm just, okay. I guess, what's going on, Mike? And he says, well, that's because you're going in. So, and that was,
Bill, what was your thoughts?
Surprise right there.
But when you got that call from Mike and they said you're going into the Hall of Fame, what did that mean for you, Bill? To be able to call and put the passion and your heart into what you've done up to that point, being the voice, Bill, what did it mean to get that call to go in the Hall?
Well, the first thing that went through my mind was why? I mean, what did I do? I mean, honestly, I was a broadcaster, but, and I've known Mike a lot of years. I know a lot of members on the selection committee. And I'll say this, I was speechless. I was stunned, and I'll always be grateful to them. I think it's 5 years that you have to wait if you're an administrator before you could be considered, 10 years if you're a student athlete. And I didn't know how long I was going to be the voice of NIU athletics. If I hadn't gone in 2009, and this is 2023 now, and I'm leaving, am I going to make it to 2028? Who knows? Who knows? But to go into that particular time and be tapped out, and just with the special circumstances, certainly was a piece of recognition that I will long remember, and I will always remember. The induction banquet, the pictures, and my speech. And I forget her name. Is a young lady that went in representing volleyball. And, she looked up at me. She was sitting next to me at the table when I was standing up. She said, we were given 10 minutes, and I wish I knew her name. She says, Bill, I'm only going to need 3. So feel free to take my so I did. I had like 17 minutes of that. And that was great. That was something I will never forget. And then, the various meet and greets. Who doesn't go to Fatty's for some of these things? Yeah. Be they formal or informal, coaches shows at Fatty's. The preseason season ticket holder things, which I used to love, simply because you see the backbone of NIU athletics out there. Well, you don't get a chance to see them during the season. You really don't, because when I get there, I'm up in that glass booth, and I rarely get a chance to come down and actually mingle with people. In this situation, you do. You know that. And you know, that was part of the job that really just, you know, just sort of, I endeared myself to it. I mean, I enjoyed those people. You know, what else can you say? I mean, there was always something in the pipeline, you know, besides just the play-by-play.
Well, tell me a little bit about the play-by-play. And again, we've been looking for the cassette tapes, Bill, but I know you did some soccer as well, right? You know, you've not just done the football and the basketball. We know about that, but also a little bit of soccer. We're trying to find those cassettes, Bill. We know they're around.
Well, you know, you can go and look for them, but your biggest problem is not finding them. It's going to be finding something to play them on. I don't know if those machines exist anymore. But, you know, Andy, there's one that I remember. I mean, I don't think I did very many soccer games. The one I do recall, NIU had a pretty good team. Akron was the Bull Goose of the Mid-American Conference. I believe football was playing at Kent State on a Saturday. And NIU men's soccer was playing at Akron the night before on that Friday. We were going to be out there anyway. And the powers that be came, would you mind, you know, going over and doing me a soccer game? And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I've done this before elsewhere, but it's been a while. And I was working with Sid Simmons at the time. There's a guy named Rich Sickish, and I hope I've got the last name right. His daughter, Julianne, played at DePaul, and she played professionally with the Chicago Red Stars. And now she's the head coach at the University of Chicago and took their men's team to a Division III national championship. Sid enlisted this gentleman and his daughter to come in and give us a crash course on soccer. I mean, I knew it was a pitch and not a field. And you know, I knew what the markings meant, the penalty area and all that, but, you know, just some of the terminology and different things to look for. And I remember him saying, he was explaining to us about the yellow card. He says, you'll see these. And he says, there's the red card. And I knew about the red card. He says, I doubt seriously you're going to see a red card. They're rare. We had 4 of them in that game against us. 4 of them. You know, I thought we set some kind of a record. Yeah, Akron won the game. The game was broadcast via the internet only. It was not on the air anywhere back in the Calgary. You had to actually go online to do it. And somebody told me that they had 600 or 700 hits on it, I guess you might say. And then some of these hits were from all over the world listening in on this. I mean, some might have been Akron people, but a lot, I guess, were NIU people. And that's my soccer story. I wish we could have won the thing. I wish the news could have been better, but unfortunately.
One more for you about something you've done, and that's PA for softball. I mean, you've been around so many of the programs and done stuff for them, Bill, but the PA for softball, did you enjoy that part? And again, you've been around the game for so long. Was it an enjoyable event to be the PA?
I mean, I actually did some softball for Sports Channel way back in the day when we had the coaches shows, and the Sports Channel was looking to fill programming. And, you know, I got tapped on the shoulder. Could you do this? And sure. I mean, Sports Channel and softball were synonymous with NIU for a number of years. And Sid Simmons and I, again, got to do the call. So we had fun with that. And then coming back to softball for the PA a couple of years ago, I guess it was just a crunch. It was COVID, you know, slightly before that. And they just needed people. And I think Donna Turner asked me if I could do the softball. And I said, sure. I mean, I just checked it versus my Cougar schedule. It worked out. So I went ahead and did it. The only bad thing about it is there was no heat in that press box. And I think the best day temperature-wise that we had for the home games was probably around 56 degrees. And that was the last day. So you get an idea. Some of these days were, you know, in the lower 40s, a bare minimum temperature-wise for actually playing the game of softball. But it got chilly up there. But again, especially the day when they brought all the alumni back, and there were a few that I actually knew from, you know, way back in the day, had them lined up in front of the bleachers and the people that were there. Yeah, 3 times, great memories.
Good stuff. There he is, the multifaceted Bill Baker. Another fun week with Bill Baker. Looking back is all the different emceeing events and everything he's done here at NIU. Looking at the upcoming schedule, we mentioned with Coach Burno about Indiana State coming up again Tuesday, December 5th. At the Combo, be there. Husky women's team, the basketball team, comes back to the Combo on Sunday, December 10th, to take on Detroit Mercy. Hope you can be in the Combo for that as well. Also, mark your calendars for another event in the Convocation Center, happening on Wednesday, December 13th, for a country holiday concert with Sarah Evans. It's the Go Tell It on the Mountain Tour in the NIU Convocation Center. Tickets are on sale now at niucombo.com. Going to be a great night of holiday entertainment. Again, that's Wednesday night, December 13th, with Sarah Evans at the Convocation Center. Also, one other event I want to tell you about. It's coming up on Thursday, December 7th, from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Join NIU Vice President and Director of Athletics, Sean T. Frazier, head coaches, including Thomas Hammock, Lisa Carlson, and more at Whiskey Acres Distilling Company in DeKalb. Celebrate the release of the new NIU Huskies and Whiskey Acres Bourbon. Got to try it out. This is a special blend, an ultra small batch made in DeKalb with a portion of the sale of each bottle going to NIU Athletics. So for more information, go on NIUHuskies.com. Again, that event Thursday, December 7th, 4 to 6:30 p.m. at Whiskey Acres Distilling Company in DeKalb. Great stuff this week. Again, hopefully find out where we're going bowling for football. Hopefully men's and women's basketball can get some wins coming up, and the other winter sports hopefully get going as well and get some wins. Don't forget, thanks for watching NIU Weekly here on this YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel. Get highlights, post-game press conferences from every NIU home basketball game all season long. Different packages will be right here, NIU Huskies YouTube page. We appreciate you watching. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. Until next time, go Huskies.